All right, everybody. We're going to talk about chapter 16 as it relates to a new type of functional group called, wait for it, YLID. He had a healthy ego, but his id was ill, that kind of thing. Okay, that was pretty lame. Sorry. What do we got? What makes something an YLID is a good question right now that we should be able to answer based on what's on the screen. What makes something an YLID? What do they both have in common? I'm sorry? They do not have to have phosphorus, but yes, they do have that in common. Oh, no, the other one doesn't have phosphorus. Sulfur on the bottom. They don't have to have phenyl groups, by the way. That could be other groups up there. Phenols are just very nice for one main reason. They don't tend to lose H's. They're kind of inert. And we wanted this H to be lost and not one from the phenyl group. You don't need to know that. Just what are they? Got to be thinking charges, everybody. Okay, you're being a little specific, but you spotted there's a negative charge, and then what's next door? A positive charge. That is the definition of YLID. It can be any two atoms. YLID, any two atoms that have adjacent opposite charges. How's that? Any two atoms that have opposite charges on those two atoms. Okay, that's a little long. Could have done better than that. I know Bailey could have made it a lot simpler than that.
Should they be adjacent?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, any two adjacent atoms. How about a short form? Vicinal plus slash minus. Done. All right, even Bailey's proud of that one. Okay. There's your translation. Okay. Here, we're making the YLID first. It's always two steps. So you need a nucleophile. You can make a sulfur YLID with sulfur and a phosphorus YLID with phosphorus. We kind of see that here. And they do different things. I hope we see that as well. But the start is the same. And this is chapter 9. Why is he saying chapter 9? There is a leaving group that's leaving is a good spot. Well done. And backside attack. There it is. SN2, right? And done. I mean, that's nice. SN2 doesn't have any intermediates. It's two arrows, done. Br minus left in both cases. Next one's what? We mentioned it earlier today. Okay, we got rid of spectators. If I give you the side product, maybe that's a clue. Side product's NH3. What kind of reaction is that? It's acid base, part 466. And now you've made your YLIDs. Since this is a new acid-base reaction, making YLIDs, we should learn a new pKa. So the precursor to the YLID are these two species here, aren't they? And there's your new pKa. I want you to know that it's important, so we're not gonna hold back. I'm gonna go with shadow. I'm having trouble here, guys. There's shadow. I haven't used them in a long time. And what color do I want? New is red. I got red though. Green. I mean, your best guess based on what you know now is 50. That's an sp3 carbon losing an H, right? Your best guess is 50. But there's something going on where you're making that YLID thing, right? Do you think plus and minus hurts each other or helps each other? They help. So it's easier than 50. We should know that. How much easier? A lot. A lot. How much easier than 50? I'm trying to think of words for 10 to the power of 20 easier. Wow. That's a trillion is 10 to the 12, and 8 is 10 to the 100 million. 100 million trillion times more acidic than an alkane. So I just told you the pKa. You're welcome. I'll even write it down. 30. There you go. So you're going to add that to your pKa table in chapter 4 today, right? I would sneak it right under hydrogen and right above alkyne. Right below 35, right above 25. I would put it right beside hydrogen. Same as H2. I mean, we're trying to remember things, right? Same pKa as H2. But what are you going to write it down for? You know, you have labels on your chapter 4. It says alkanes 50, alkynes 25, alcohols 17 to 18. What are you going to write for what was losing its H in this case? Don't say the YLID. You're wrong. Don't say an alkyne. It was not an alkyne losing an H. We have to learn this pKa 50, and if we don't know what it's for, it's very hard to learn. So what is the pKa 30 for? You can't say the word YLID. You're making an YLID. Make your words reflect this fact. The thing before an YLID. And please, as a scientist, the word precursor is exactly that. Precursor is used by every scientist in every discipline. Okay? It's what was before. Okay? So the precursor to an YLID has a pKa of what? 30. We just learned that now. Okay. So, and it looks like they do different things when they attack a carbonyl because the result's not the same at the end. And some of you have a hint at why the phosphorus ends up with an oxygen and the sulfur doesn't. Your days in biology, right? Learn about those strong phosphorus oxygen bonds, and we can store energy with those things. Some of you have heard this stuff, right? Yeah, they're very ubiquitous in biochemistry, right? So phosphorus loves oxygen. Sulfur likes it, but not as much. So sulfur doesn't do that story here. The lone pair on the carbon in each YLID is going to be attracted to which piece of the carbonyl? I said it verbally 4 times on the previous activity, why it was attacking the carbon. I'm going to put a symbol here to say the same thing. Every time I attack the carbonyl in the previous video, I said it attacks the carbon because it has a slightly positive nature. There it's written. You don't have to write. But it does explain why these electrons are going there. Same story here. Okay. Here's the interesting thing about the difference between phosphorus and sulfur. Phosphorus can go up to 5 bonds because of its nature. It's on the periodic table in group 5. And that's not an octet violation for phosphorus because it's in the 3rd row. It can start using d orbitals to make more bonds than 4. So that's where the PO happens, and it happens right now. So the pi breaks and goes to the P. This pi breaks, and it's not really drawn to that sulfur at all. Sulfur doesn't want to go past where it's at with bonds right now. It would get a 2+ charge. That's not a good thing, is it? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, don't worry about charges. Sulfur doesn't do this because I misspoke. So you're getting an O minus there. Let's do the bottom one. You've got your isopropyl with a new bond to the carbon that used to be a carbonyl. And the old bond to oxygen is still there, but the pi is gone. And you've got this wonderful sulfonium hanging around. And sulfoniums, just like oxoniums, are good leaving groups. Oh, what's next? How do you get that thing to go down here? 2 arrows and you're home free. Show me where one of the arrows stuck. Yep, the lone pair of oxygen. It ends at the carbon with the leaving group, right? And the carbon with the leaving group, well, the leaving group leaves. Done. End of story. I'd like to just put NGP on the page here to remind you, you saw that previously when you studied NGP. And I think it's trying to tell you what time you saw NGP the first time, but I don't think we're going to get there. Okay. So what do we got? We got an epoxide. Oh, another way to make epoxide. Somebody's got a page started over from last semester. It said, oh, how do we make epoxide? I had 2 ways then. And they got it from chapter 11. And then they put this underneath. And they said, oh, this was from chapter 16. Yeah. Learn another way to make epoxide. Through the sulfur YLIDs and aldehydes and ketones. And somebody's going to start a page where you make alkenes from stuff. Yeah, I would start on that page. First time you made alkenes, I think, was from alkyne. You made cis and trans. We had that ability, right? And the other kinds we made from dehydration of alcohol. Remember those? Yeah. Or E2 reactions make pi bonds, right? Remember all these good things? But here we're doing a synthesis and making a pi at the same time. So this is unique. We're making a bigger molecule and then also putting a pi on it. Yeah. And it's almost done. You get an intermediate in this one it's got some cool stuff in it. That's what I'm going to say. It's got the O. It's got 2 new bonds. It's got one from carbon to carbon, and oxygen to phosphorus is the other one, and we'll put that in black. PPH3 was always bonded to the carbon that was an isopropyl. And I just need to stretch this out a little and have it meet over here. Oh, that's not a new bond though. It needs to be black. There we go. Phosphorus perfectly happy up there. It's got 5 bonds, right? No formal charge. It's a happy phosphorus. I know it's in a square. It's not so happy. Squares aren't so good, are they? No. But phosphorus is a little bigger than carbon, so it's not a terrible square. It's like a bigger atom. Oblong square. You know, one of the corners sticks down to here. A little better. But it's still not great. And it's going to fall apart. In the square, easy question. Which atom's most electronegative? Oxygen's going to pull electrons towards itself and make that new bond to oxygen. So which bond needs to break to make the new bond to oxygen? The second bond, the pi, from O to P. Which of these needs to break? Oxygen to carbon needs to break, and it's going to collapse and become oxygen to phosphorus. Is that what you want to say? I like it, but I don't like it a lot. I don't like electrons moving away from oxygen if I can avoid it. I'm thinking the weakest bond here is TC, because any bond to oxygen is stronger than bond to less electronegative atoms. And carbon to oxygen is going to be stronger than carbon to phosphorus. So I'm thinking this is being drawn up towards oxygen. You see where I'm going with that? It's being drawn up to the more electronegative O, and the old CO gives up and becomes a C double C. And that's it. 2 arrows, end of story. Maybe I'll color them pink so that you don't confuse them with those bonds. And there's the end of that story. And we got an alkene. And that's called the Wittig reaction. Some of you are going to read about the Wittig reaction. Yeah, you say it like it's a double V. Most countries in the world, that's how they say that letter, by the way. If you're French, you don't say W. No, you say double V. And it looks like 2 V's. Yeah. I am partial to the, I mean, being a guy with a last name that starts with W, I've been drawing W's like that my whole life, you know? There's some roundedness. Anyway. Okay. Where are we at? We're quitting because it's over. Seems too short.